My wife, 54F, and I, 51M, had been dating about 4 years but living together for 2 years when she got a job out of the area, about 2 hours commute from where we were living. She did that commute for a while, but it was really rough on her, so she decided to move closer to her work. I was supportive of that because it was a really good job at a well-known company in her industry, which could help jumpstart her career, and she was making more money than she ever had, so she was able to afford her own place without my assistance. I even helped her find an apartment. We had a cat together, but she thought it was better if I kept the cat in familiar surroundings. She took her car, although I paid for the insurance because we were on the policy together. I usually visited her once during the week for a date night for dinner and to explore her new surroundings. I usually spent the night with her that night, and then on the weekends, she came home to spend a couple of days with me and the cat at our own apartment we had shared. There was never any indication that anything was wrong with the relationship. In fact, our date nights were a kind of nice thing we both enjoyed, and we usually had sex that night, which was an improvement of the frequency it had been before, which was probably in the dead bedroom territory of 4-6 times per year. I thought things were going really well. After a year and a half, she got a different job closer to me, and we moved back in together and got married. There was a time a few years later when a co-worker of mine got really flirty with me, and I told my wife. It made her really jealous. I had no intentions of reciprocating, and I told her that. She didn't necessarily believe me. I was talking to a girlfriend of hers about it, and her girlfriend asked if I had always remained faithful to my wife. She said, "Even when you were separated?" And I was like, "When were we ever separated?" And she said, "When you guys were living apart." I said, "We were living apart, but we were together." And she got quiet. I could tell she was holding on to something, so I asked her why she thought we were separated. She didn't answer, but I could tell something was up. When I saw my wife again, I asked her what her friend meant by being separated, and she said, "Well, yeah, that's what it was." I was like, "Excuse me?" And she said, "Well, you were seeing other women during that time." And I cut her off to tell her that I absolutely had not. Then I asked her if she had been seeing other guys, and she broke down and admitted she had gone out with a coworker a few times, as friends. But that one time she slept with him, felt guilty about it, never did it again, and broke it off. She told me that I could sleep with my coworker to make it equal, and that just disgusted me. I told her I wasn't going to do that and asked her why the hell would she want me to do that. She just said, "To make it even." Long story short, it was a difficult time, but eventually I forgave her. She seemed genuinely remorseful, and she insisted it was just a one-time thing, and she made a mistake. The problem I have now is that our marriage has hit a really rough patch, and my wife blames me for a lot of things. I take some responsibility for some of them, but not all of them. I am also finding that even though I thought I had buried the feelings of the affair, I am finding them resurfacing when she accuses me of treating her poorly. I feel like she has a lot of room for improvement, and she shouldn't be casting stones at me from her glass house. I have started to ruminate about her affair. I think about it frequently, at least once per day and sometimes many times. I think about what she might have said and done, and imagine some other guy having sex with my wife in her apartment while I was home tending to our apartment. It makes me feel so angry and humiliated. I feel like I want her to apologize again for what she did and take responsibility for the emotional damage she caused. I feel like she probably doesn't even give it a second thought anymore. I brought it up once, and she had this sort of attitude like, "That was so long ago now, you're not entitled to be upset anymore." But I am. It's hitting me again, almost as hard as when it happened. I think the solution is to just let it go, but I find it hard. I started therapy, and my therapist said I just swept it under the rug and never dealt with it properly. However, she hasn't been able to suggest what the proper way to deal with it is. I asked her if I should tell my wife it bothers me, and she said I can if I want to, but that I also need to figure out what exactly I want from her. I am not sure what I want. Anyone ever dealt with this before? It seems crazy that something that happened 27 years ago consumes my thoughts now. Don't let anyone tell you that your feelings aren't valid. They are. You forgave her, but that doesn't mean you have to forget her indiscretion. Honestly, her story about the affair seems full of holes and lies. Wayward spouses rarely come completely clean unless confronted with evidence, and even then, they may still hold some things back. I shall see you. Here,